Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This comes from 90s Movie Fan. Hello, John. There's no other way to say it. Lightyear dramatically underperformed during its opening weekend, making only $51 million. This is almost a third lower than projections, and it's not doing any better internationally so far. Considering the $200 million budget, this could be very bad news for Pixar. If Lightyear continues to do badly, could this signal the end of big-budget animation movies? Sing 2 and The Bad Guys showed the market is still there, but they also cost less than half of Lightyear did.
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in. Couple of things let's touch on here first. Lightyear was not projected to make $150 million opening weekend. So this idea that it only made a third of what it was, the real projections going into was probably around the $70-something million mark. Mm-hmm. Now, because I've been struggling with being sick the last week or so, I have still not seen Lightyear. My wife went to go see it. She came home in tears. She loved it. So I haven't seen the whole thing. Ray, didn't you go with her? Didn't you take my ticket and went with her? What did you think of Lightyear?
Oh, I liked it. I had no problem with it. I mean, it wasn't the best thing, but I wasn't excited to see the movie anyways. When it was first announced, remember when we did a trailer reaction to it, or we talked about the trailer? I was one of the people that said, we don't need this. I'm not excited for it. I haven't been into Pixar movies like I mentioned before for a while, but this was more like I just went because Anne needed someone to go. So I went, and then I actually liked the movie. I wouldn't have gone and went on my own and got a ticket and watched it, but I'm glad I did. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, my wife loved it. She's just been, when are we going to go? When are we going to go? So she and I are going to go see it tonight. So I'm going to finally see it tonight. I haven't seen the whole thing myself yet. But even though it was never projected to make $150 million opening, they thought it was going to make more than it did. This comes to us from the folks over at NBC News that wrote the following. The film Lightyear was expected to open near $70 million in the US and Canada, according to industry analysts. Toy Story 4 launched to a commanding $120.9 million in June of 2019, according to ComScore, a firm that tracks box office data. Paul blah, 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 a senior media analyst at ComScore, said that some film goers may not have realized that Lightyear was a spin-off of the popular Toy Story saga, while others might have expected it to premiere on the Disney streaming service like the 3 previous Pixar movies, Soul, Luca, and Turning Red. He struck an optimistic note, however, saying, despite coming in with lower than expected weekend, Lightyear should benefit in the coming days as word gets out to family audiences who may not have entirely made their Toy Story connection, and that the film is only available in theaters. And that again comes to us from NBC News. So the question becomes, why did it only make $50-something million? It looked great. We saw the first half hour of it. The first half hour of it was magic. I haven't seen the rest of it yet. But why $50 million? Well, there's a couple of interesting things to keep note of. Number one, while $50 million is way below what was expected, the reality is, compared to other family animated films, it's incredibly successful. Think of it in this terms. The film Bad Guys that came out, right? It opened at $23 million. Went on to make $230 million at the box office, by the way, which is way more than I thought Bad Guys would have made. Sing 2 opened with $22 million. And now it went on to make over $400 million at the box office, but again, it opened to $22 million. In Lightyear, we are literally talking about more than doubling what other animated films right now coming out of the pandemic, when a lot of families haven't started going back to the theaters yet and all that kind of stuff. So for context, the 2 most comparable films here, Bad Guys and Sing, it made double than those. And Sing went on to make over $400 million. So that's not bad. The other problem I think Lightyear had was a little bit of confusion. Listen, there was a little bit of solo in Lightyear, because when they first announced it, well, I love the trailers, I did, but when they first announced this film, a lot of people were like, why are they doing this? So it's Toy Story, but it's not Toy Story. It's Buzz, but it's not Buzz. So Tim isn't coming back to The Voice. Chris Evans, okay, we love Chris Evans, but I think there was a lot of confusion about what the movie was and what it was not. However, I think the biggest culprit here, besides the fact that it is still pandemic era, families haven't been coming back in droves. We saw that with Bad Guys. We saw that with Sing 2. It did double as well as those did. All that's fine. The other thing they brought up in that article that I think is very telling, though, is the fact that Disney has spent the last couple of years conditioning audiences that their movies just come out on Disney Plus, particularly Pixar. This comes to us, listen to this. David A. Gross, who is the CEO of the Franchise Entertainment Research Group. This is an organization that all the movie theaters go to help them do their market research and understand what may hit, what may not hit. He said the following: Disney spent the last 2 years putting Pixar movies, Soul, Turning Red, and Luca, directly on Disney Plus, which has inadvertently conditioned people to expect to see the animation studio's newest releases at home. Disney has trained a lot of parents to expect that Pixar movies are at home. Robinson says, I wonder how much Lightyear paid the price for that. What's interesting is he made that comment before the movie came out. And while I don't think this is these two things, that the fact that there was a little bit of confusion as to what this movie was, the fact that the last 3 big Pixar movies in a row have all gone basically training the audience that their movies come out on thing, another consequence of that stupid decision that they made. I'm not saying those are the only 2 factors in this. Not at all. I think the trailers could have been done better. The one was really good, but a couple of the other trailers I don't think did a good enough job explaining what the movie was. There are other elements as well. But I think when you kind of look at the fact that it still did more than double as good as the other comparative family animated films that are coming out right now, combined with the fact that there was a little bit of confusion as to what this movie was, combined with the fact that Disney has been training people that Pixar films come out at home video, I think it kind of adds up that makes it understandable that it opened to what it did. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's video, Storyblocks. Guys, I have been an enthusiastic fan and user of Storyblocks for years. I go to them whenever I'm in need of content creation assets like royalty-free music, video clips, or templates for my creative projects, ranging anywhere from little editorial videos to my very own full-feature documentary. Storyblocks helps you bring your stories, videos, and projects to life without sacrifices due to time, budget, or access to resources. They have over 1 million different story assets ranging from stock videos, audio and music, an in-browser video editor, and they feature pre-designed templates, animations, and outros. Storyblocks uses an affordable subscription model, and their unlimited access plans offers, well, unlimited video and audio downloads rather than a costly pay-per-clip model. With Storyblocks, you'll be able to create more content and, more importantly, better content, all while using a subscription plan that fits your budget, utilizing unlimited downloads of demand-driven and diverse content. So if you're interested in upping your content creation game, head over to www.storyblocks.com/Campea and get started today. That's www.storyblocks.com/Campea. What it did. The big question for me, Rob, is going to be, what does it do moving forward? Does it get word of mouth? Do the families that saw it tell other families, you got to bring your kids to go see this? Do people go back to watch it a second or third time or not? Again, Sing 2 opened to $20 million and it made 400. So if it follows that pattern, Lightyear is going to be just fine. The question is, will it follow that pattern? Rob, you saw the initial numbers for it. Many directors and filmmakers and studios would kill to have a $50 million opening weekend, but still, this is below Pixar standards. Although, by the way, it did outgross the opening weekend of the last Pixar film that came out pre-pandemic, which was Onward, which opened at about 32 million. But what do you make of this, and what do you think the future for Lightyear is?
Well, I think all the points you brought up were really great, but I do think that there is brand confusion here, much more extreme than people might think, because this is attached to the Toy Story franchise, rightly or wrongly. We delighted in the connection. In 1995, Andy went to see this movie, and this is the movie he saw. No matter what, people expect a certain experience from a Toy Story movie. The experience of the camaraderie of the toys, Woody and Buzz, Andy, but then there's Bo Peep and Mr. Potato Head and Slinky and the claw. What are those things called?
The little aliens.
The aliens.
Yeah.
What are the? Do they have a name?
John, how do you pronounce John's last name?
Ratzenberger. Yeah,
his pig bag.
I love. Yeah, all of those characters, rightly or wrongly. When you think Toy Story, anything, you have those characters are evocative in your brain. This movie, I love what they did with it. But look, family audiences are not, if you've got kids, you're not up on your Pixar meta storytelling. You're just thinking, hey, it's a Toy Story movie, let's go see it. This isn't that at all. And I think that it's irrevocably tied to what people think of as being a Toy Story movie, and it isn't that. So I think that there might be a level of disappointment, in certain people, certainly in parents, when they're going to get this experience of what it is. I mean, and what's interesting too, the original Toy Story, I was talking with Mike Bodden about this morning, it was John Lasseter's childhood. A lot of the toys in the Toy Story movies were not toys of the 90s. They were retro toys, like toys from the 70s when John Lasseter was a kid. And there was a space toy in the 60s called Major Matt Mason. I was just on the cusp. I was a little too young to get Major Matt Mason, but that's really when I even saw like a Toy Story the first time. I'm like, Buzz Lightyear is totally Major Matt Mason. It was a toy line that was big in the 60s that came out of the Apollo program, and so even Toy Story, the toys are retro. And this movie, even the thing that they're saying when Andy saw this movie in 1995, even though kids in 1995 were not necessarily.
But remember, people at home never saw that. That was never part of the marketing, right? Only people who were in the theater saw that.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I think that people think this is a Toy Story movie, even now. And they're not wrong, because it's Buzz Lightyear. It's called Lightyear. It's a Toy Story movie, isn't it? No, it's not. But the thing is, I'm hoping, like you wrote or read in the article, it's a wonderful, I mean, again, I haven't seen the whole thing, but it's still a wonderfully, beautifully made movie that is heartfelt. It tells a great story. It's got all that Disney goodness in it, Pixar goodness in it.
Because you loved that first 30 minutes too, didn't you?
Loved it. I loved all the retro sci-fi designs. I don't know. I mean, did you see the whole thing?
I still haven't. I had a whole bunch of auditions this weekend. So
Yeah, that's the thing. I worked on script notes, and I was like, I
just want to point out, in this room, the only person who's seen the movie is Ray.
Well, let me be completely honest. It was a long day that day, and even at an hour 40, somewhere in the middle, I may have gone into a small coma and just went to sleep for a second. But Anne said what I missed was good anyway, so I believe in her. It was like 10 minutes. Come on. What's going to happen? But I saw
Snorlax
I did see.
Lightyear.
I saw the beginning, and then the middle was blurry, and then the end was good. So,
Chris, you're hearing about this. Look, we've read the comments and the analysis going on here. What do you attribute it making 50 something? Because the reviews on it are good, they're solid. What do you attribute this to?
I do think it is the learned behavior of Disney animation is streaming. It's no one's running out to the theater because I don't think it's at the forefront of your brain of, oh, we need to go take the kids to go see that movie this weekend, right? Because all the Luca, which was a beautiful film, right on streaming, right? Everything so far has just gone straight to streaming. So I think that's kind of just back of people's minds is the first issue. And then I do think there is that confusion that y'all were talking about is kids are familiar with the Toy Story franchise and they have a very specific idea in mind. Adults are too. We have a lot of nostalgia with that film, right? This was Pixar's flagship film with the Toy Story franchise. So I think too, maybe people are going in expecting some of that Tim Allen, more toy-based humor and get in sci-fi and are a little confused. I loved the first 30 minutes. I know people in the chat are saying that for them, a lot of them are saying the first 30 minutes were great and then it slowly dissolves from there. So maybe we watched a really great opening that, like a lot of Disney properties lately, are not sticking the landing.
Right now, I just been doing some math while you're talking there. I brought up the calculator.
People do a lot of math when I talk.
So, when you take the 51 million opening, the 50-ish million opening for Lightyear, when you compare that to Soul, Turning Red, and Luca, it made $51 million more than all three of those movies put together.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we point that out, that it actually made more than all three of those movies combined at $51 million. So question is for you guys. What do you think about this? I mean, again, double as good as its nearest competitor in this field right now, but still underwhelming compared to what we've come to expect from a Pixar film. Do you think it had more to do with like, wait a minute, is this a Toy Story film or not? Do you think it had more to do with, wait a minute, don't they put all Pixar films out on Disney Plus now? Or do you attribute it to something else? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.